Hello. It is time. I am aware that literally everyone under the sun is going to be making videos about this book and talking about this book, but I don't care. I'm also very excited about this book. I've been looking forward to this all year. I pre-ordered it as soon as I possibly could. I am so excited. So we are going to talk about it. Even though everyone ever is going to be talking about it too, I don't care. We're talking about it too. I'm going to do a reading vlog, and then we're going to talk about this book in depth at the end, and I am excited. I am very thrilled. Also, I just want to say that no matter how many times I have read this title, I cannot remember the title of this book without looking at it. Every single time I try to say the title of this book out loud, I come up with something different, and I don't know why or what it is about this title that gets me, but it does. But I love The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games was so fun. I loved it. I've been reading a lot of dystopian books lately, so this is perfect. We are going to read it together. I really wish that I didn't know that this was about President Snow, because I love going into books blind. When I was watching this video this guy made where he talked about how it was about President Snow and like his origin story or whatever, and I'm very upset that I know that fact. I'm not upset about the subject matter, I'm just upset that I know it because I wanted to go in blind and be completely surprised, but it is what it is and I'm still excited. I am channeling my inner PETA, which isn't even that inner, it's just basically my daily life. No wonder PETA is so strong though. Also, look at how pretty this book is. Look at the cover. I don't know why we're putting snakes on everything, but that's so pretty. I love that. Wonderful. I'm very, very excited. Hello, welcome to my workplace. I don't work on Auntie Anne's, but I have an Auntie Anne's face mask. How exciting, thrilling. I am here. We haven't opened yet. I opened this morning, but listen, it's been a couple days since I've spoken to y'all about this book here. It's been a couple days because I've been here and busy. I've read the first chapter, which is only like 22 pages. Like, I've literally barely read anything, and so far we are, oh no, I forgot my tabs at home. Oh crap. I'll figure out what to do if I read more today, what to do about tabs and not having them. But so far in this book, let's see, where are we? So far we have discovered that the Snows are actually pretty poor. Our main character here, Mr. President Snow, is going to be a mentor for the Hunger Games, like for someone in the Hunger Games. And surprise, surprise, the girl that he's getting is from District 12, is from District 12, which is not that surprising. I kind of expected it, honestly. Once like it started, I was like, oh, let me guess, like he's gonna get someone from District 12, because turns out he's got a history with District 12 tributes. So I'm probably gonna sit here, do some more reading, do the things and whatnot. Also, I got one of the s'mores frappuccinos from Starbucks. I love these things so much. I am just absolutely in love with these. So I have one of these. That was not necessary or important to talking about the book, but I just wanted to mention it anyway. I found a use for makeshift tabs while I'm here at work. I have these post-it notes that I keep in my bag. Use those, ripped them up, put them in the book. There's like 3 of them. It works. It actually works. It's amazing. Woo-hoo. I'm so glad. I see how it is. I got up and you fully take my spot. Ma'am. 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 Hello. Can you move? Please? Okay. and welcome back to my channel. So I got a new bookshelf. I got a second one. Although, fun fact, it was supposed to be the exact same as this bookshelf, but it's 3 inches shorter somehow. I don't know how or why, but it's just 3 inches shorter. So I'm sorry if that bothers you. It's been bothering me, but I spent 2 hours trying to put this together. So I'm not returning it or anything. I spent too much time on this. It's mine now. I've claimed it. I finished the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, the prequel to the Hunger Games, about Coriolanus Snow and the 10th Hunger Games, and I was disappointed. The book felt very pointless. I expected more. As we got more through the book, the less interested I got and the more bored I got with it. I'm gonna keep this as spoiler-free as possible if you wanted to read this for yourself, and then we'll get into some spoilers. But as an overview, I was kind of disappointed. I rated this a 3 out of 5 because it's not terrible, it's just not great. It's not really good. This book just kind of felt like it was all over the place. It was like we started with a good plot and good idea, but then things got really weird. I don't know really how to put it. It got weird, it got boring. I was really looking forward to this, and I'm upset that it's not what I thought it was going to be. I was really excited to see like the origin of Coriolanus Snow, to see what he was like when he was younger. Like, I'm curious about things, especially villains. You know, it's being told from like the bad guy's perspective of like his life before Katniss and everything. I was really curious, and I still don't know if I'm happy if I've read this book or not. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I don't know if I'm happy if I'm read this or not. Like, there's some history and things that we learned that were interesting, that I'm glad I do know the background behind. I mean, it's worth a shot, but it was boring and kind of long-winded and just pointless. So if you're interested in reading it, maybe give it a shot. You might think differently, you might love it, but I think the general consensus, bless you, for this book is that it was boring and not at all what we were expecting. And you're not gonna miss out on anything with this book. There's just not a lot. It was just kind of meh. That's it for spoiler-free kind of review or reading vlog. Now I'm gonna get into like the actual spoilers and actually get into this book a bit. I don't know how in-depth we're gonna go with this because honestly I don't really care about it anymore, but we can briefly go over it and the plot and what it's about generally, I guess. I don't know. These reviews never make any sense or have any point or direction really, like this book. So to give you a general setup, it's about Coriolanus. He's in like college, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. It's like a university where he's learning to do things so he can get a career. So kind of like college, I guess. And it's after like the war. The Hunger Games is newly developed. Like it's very recent thing, and I mean it's the 10th one that we're approaching right now in this setting. Coriolanus is living with his cousin Tigris and his grandmother in a penthouse apartment that they can't really afford. They've recently found out that the property taxes are going up and they're not going to be able to pay us. They're probably going to lose the apartment. They've been told that part of their like university training or whatever is to mentor the tribute, since the first year that they're ever mentoring the tribute. I mean, if you're watching this or if you're interested in this book, you've read The Hunger Games. You know what The Hunger Games is about. You've read the books or you've at least seen the movies. And you know that District 12 kind of, you know, doesn't really matter. It's not important. Like, no one cares about District 12. District 13, dead. District 12 probably next. Like, who cares about District 12? The students have to mentor the tributes. And of course, Coriolanus ends up with the girl from District 12. It is this girl called Lucy Greybeard. It happened quickly, the dip of her hand into the ruffles at her hip, the wriggle of bright green transported from her pocket and deposited down the collar of a smirking redhead's blouse, the rustle of her skirt as she moved on. Focus stayed on the victim, her smirk changing to an expression of horror, her shrieks as she fell to the ground, pawing at her clothes. She shouts of the mare, and in the background her assailant is still weaving, still gliding her way to the stage, not looking back even once. Heavensby Hall came to life as the people elbowed their neighbors. Did you see that? What did she drop down her dress? A lizard? I saw a snake. Did she kill her? So our first impression of Lucy is she drops a snake. down a girl's shirt. And also, at the reaping, she decides that she wants to sing a song. And so that's really our first impression of Lucy, is a snake in a song, you know. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. How shocking. So he gives a rose to Lucy, makes a really good impression. The Snows are known for roses. He ends up following the tributes to where they're going and ends up being locked in a cage with them and in their truck. And turns out they keep the tributes in a zoo for the 10th Hunger Games. They keep them in a zoo so people can come and like look at them and gawk at them before, you know, they're killed. People have to come and get him out. He was also nearly choked to death by a tribute, which is valid. Oh, and then also while he was at the zoo, he started introducing Lucy to like the children to get people to like her. And because if you get the children to like her, then it's more likely that the adults and the parents will start to like her as well. Oh, and then there's a guy in charge of all this called Dean Highbottom, and he ends up giving a demerit to Coriolanus because of what happened and how he got, you know, trapped in the zoo with the other tributes because, you know, he was endangering a student. Also, I just want to mention, I thought his name was Cornelius this entire time. I didn't know it was Coriolanus until I started reading this book, but I thought it was Cornelius this entire time. It's not, it's Coriolanus, but I thought it was Cornelius. Oh yeah, and there's this boy called Sejanus. He was originally from District 2, but his dad ended up getting involved and moving to the capital, and so they're a lot wealthier now and have more power. Sejanus, I don't know how to say his name. He's like really against the games, and he's clearly not capital. Like, he clearly belongs to one of the districts. He does not fit in. He doesn't just go along with the capital and their thoughts and ways. Like, he's severely against it. And he talks about wanting to switch tributes with Coriolanus because turns out the boy that was assigned to Sejanus is actually a kid that he knew when he was in school. And then, of course, Coriolanus shoots him down and decides to keep Lucy. So Sejanus actually brought a bunch of sandwiches to feed the tributes because his family has a lot of food, which is kind of hard to come by. Like, Coriolanus, he's been starving because his family just doesn't have a lot of food. But Sejanus apparently has a lot of food, and so does his family. And so he decides to go down and he makes sandwiches to feed the tributes. And one of the other classmates gets involved, and she decides... Arachne, I think is her name, that's how to pronounce it, I don't know. He watched as Arachne sliced the cheese with a mother-of-pearl handled knife. Her tribute, the talkative girl from District 10, squatted right in front of her, eagerly leaning into the bars. Arachne made a thick sandwich, but didn't hand it right over. She seemed to be lecturing the girl about something. It was quite a speech. At one point, the girl reached through the bars, and Arachne withdrew the sandwich, laughing, shook her fingers at her tribute, held out the sandwich again, and then pulled it away a second time, much to the crowd's amusement. Coriolanus could see the tribute's face darkening, the muscles tightening around her neck. He could see something else, too. Her fingers sliding down the bar, darting out, circling the handle of the knife. He started to rise, opening his mouth to shout a warning, but it was too late. In one movement, the tribute yanked Arachne forward and slit her throat. So there's this other classmate called Clemencia, and her and Coriolanus have to do a project to talk about like the Hunger Games and some ideas that they would have for the Hunger Games, but Coriolanus did all the work and Clemencia did nothing at all. So there's this doctor, her name is Dr. Gall. She's responsible, I think she's the game maker. She's responsible for all the different mutants that are put in the arena. She does a lot of experiments, things like that. And Clemencia and Coriolanus go to her lab to talk to her because she really liked their ideas about the Hunger Games. Like, Coriolanus was responsible for bringing in, you know, betting into it, being able to send tribute singers in the arena, and he was basically responsible for the majority of what we see in the Hunger Games trilogy and what we see in the 75th Hunger Games with Katniss. He was responsible for the majority of that, how it worked, sponsors and all of that. That was Coriolanus' idea. But one of the things that happens is Dr. Gall had Coriolanus' paper and put it in a tank full of snakes, and it was a test because she asked Coriolanus if him and Clemencia had both worked on and touched the paper that he had turned in, and he said yes. Clemencia hooked a sheet with her fingernail and lifted it up. The snakes stirred. If you're familiar, if they have a pleasant association with you by your scent, a warm tank for instance, they'll ignore you. A new scent, something foreign, that would be a threat, said Dr. Gall. You'd be on your own, little girl. Coriolanus had just begun to put two and two together when he saw the look of alarm on Clemencia's face. She yanked her hand from the tank, but not before half a dozen neon snakes sank their fangs into her flesh. It took me a month to read this book because I kept getting bored, and there's just, I don't know, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. And I don't mean it's a lot of pages, because like The Toll by Neil Shusterman was a lot of pages, and that was a big book, but I finished that in like 2 weeks because I was so involved and I was so excited, and I loved the Scythe trilogy. But with this, it took me so long to get through because it kept getting boring, and it just kind of dragged on, and Coriolanus keeps talking about what he's eating. Lucy is scared to go into the arena, so Coriolanus decides to give Lucy a compact. His mother had like a blush compact, and he took the powder out of it and decided to give her the compact so it could, you know, comfort her when she was scared, and also so that way she could fill it with rat poison and use it in the games and cheat, because he doesn't want her to die, because he's worried about her and he cares about her. So also, before the actual Hunger Games, there was also an explosion which wiped out like about half of the tributes when they went to go visit the arena. And apparently they just left the arena every year. Like, they wouldn't clean it, they wouldn't do anything to it to really change it. It was the same arena every year. They just threw a bunch of kids in there, like, you know, do your best. Some of their classmates died too, and a lot of them were hospitalized. So Lucy already had a very much smaller pool of people to beat in the Hunger Games. Also, during the explosion, Marcus ran away because there was a big hole, and a lot of the tributes who ran off, they were like shot and killed on sight, but Marcus got away and they couldn't find him anywhere, and he makes an appearance again. All eyes moved with the camera, riveted as it slowly zoomed into the pair of steel poles not far from the main entrance of the arena. They were 20 feet high, joined by a crossbeam of a similar length. At the center of the structure, Marcus hung from manacled wrists, so battered and bloodied that at first Coriolanus thought they were displaying his corpse. Then Marcus's swollen lips began to move, showing his broken teeth and leaving little doubt he was still alive. So they found Marcus, beat him up horrifically, and then just hung him right there in the arena before the game started. Coriolanus decides to go home and get some rest, you know, for the next morning. Sanguinus's mother, Mrs. Plinth, shows up because she can't find him anywhere, because he had run off because he was upset, and he just never came back. Sanguinus is in the Hunger Games arena, so to make a long story short, Coriolanus has to go in there after him. So he goes into the arena and he's trying to, you know, get Sanguinus to, you know, come out of a little opening. And what Sanguinus had done is he had gone into the arena to sprinkle Marcus's body with breadcrumbs, because in District 2's custom, like, that's what they do when someone dies. They sprinkle breadcrumbs on their body so that way they're not hungry on their journey, you know, to the afterlife. They end up getting out, but they have to fight some tributes to get out, and Coriolanus makes his very first kill. So he's leaving Dr. Gall's office, and he comes across the same snakes that had bitten Clemencia, and they're carrying the tank somewhere as he passes by, and he remembers that if they're familiar with their scent, they won't attack you. He doesn't know for sure that these snakes are going into the arena or not, but he does end up dropping a handkerchief into the tank that has the snakes in it, that has Lucy Gray scent on it, just in case. So to make another long story short, the snakes are released. They don't hurt anyone. Well, I mean, they hurt people, but they don't hurt Lucy Gray. And the only one that's left was this tribute named Reaper, who she ended up poisoning with rat poison, and she also poisoned a second and I think maybe third tribute with rat poison. I think there were 3 that she killed with rat poison. So she ends up winning the Hunger Games. Coriolanus, they found out that he cheated, and so they go to talk to him. They take him away. He had to agree to become a peacekeeper so he wouldn't be thrown in prison or something like that. He can't go to university, but it was like, it was either be a peacekeeper or go to jail or be put to death, something like that. I don't entirely remember. And he chooses to go to District 12 because that's where Lucy is. And turns out Sojourner was also given like a similar ultimatum and sent to be a peacekeeper as well, and he also went to District 12. So Coriolanus and Sanguinus are back together again, which Coriolanus does not like that at all. So as peacekeepers, they have to attend a hanging that's happening in District 12. And I cannot tell you how excited I was and how much I screamed once I read this one part, because they're like, okay, this man is going to be strung up, he's going to be hanged. So was the murder targeting the peacekeeper in particular, asked Coriolanus as he pulled on his crisp white uniform for the first time. I heard he was trying to sabotage coal production and accidentally killed the 3, said Sojourner. Do you understand? Like, do you get it? Do you see where this is going? Because I saw where this is going when I heard he was trying to sabotage coal production and accidentally killed the 3. The 3. I got so excited. So they go to the hanging. The crowd fell silent and a peacekeeper read out the list of crimes of the condemned. Arlo Chance had been convicted of, including the murder of 3 men. Although he tried to project his voice seemed puny in the hot, damp air. When he concluded, the commander gave the nod to the peacekeepers on the platform. They offered the condemned a blindfold, which he refused, and then put the noose around his neck. The man stood stoically, staring off in the distance as he awaited his death. A drum roll began from the far side of the platform, triggering a cry from the front of the crowd. Coriolanus shifted his gaze to locate the source. A young woman with olive skin and long black hair rose above the mass into the air as a man tried to carry her off, but she desperately fought to move forward, shrieking, "Arlo, Arlo." Already peacekeepers were closing in on her. The voice had an electrifying effect on Arlo, and his face registered in surprise, then in horror. "Run," he screamed. "Run, Lil, run, run." Do you get it? Do you understand what this is a reference to? Do you get it? I'm gonna give you a minute to try and get it. The hanging tree. It's a reference to the hanging tree. This is the origin of the hanging tree. Do you know how exciting that is? Coriolanus ends up finding Lucy Gray, and he finds out where she lives and goes to her house to see her, and she's in a meadow with her guitar singing and living her little Lucy Gray life, and she's literally riding the hanging tree. Like, she's literally riding the hanging tree, like, when he shows up. And then also, I want to mention one thing I love about the Hunger Games is the representation of PTSD, because we don't see that ever. And literally everyone who's been in the arena, like, look at Katniss and Peeta and Haymitch, like, they all have, like, extreme PTSD from being in the Hunger Games. And there's this one little section here that references to Lucy, you know, having PTSD related to the Hunger Games. As he drew near, his foot landed on an old branch, which broke with a sharp snap. She sprang from the rock, twisting her body as she rose, her eyes wide with fear, and the guitar held out as if to block a blow. For a moment he thought she'd flee, but her alarm shifted to relief at the sight of him. She shook her head as close as he'd ever seen her to embarrassed, as she propped her guitar against the rock. Sorry, still got one foot in the arena. Oh, and then we meet the guy who Lucy was in love with, called Billy Top. Him and Sojourner are talking, and we don't know what they're talking about, but it turns out, to make another long story short, Billy and Lucy were together. Then Billy started getting involved with the redhead, Mayfair, I think that's her name, who is the mayor's daughter. And Lucy found out about it and she was upset. So Mayfair actually worked it out with her dad so that Lucy's name would be called at the reaping, and basically they tried to get her killed. And that's why she put the snake down Mayfair's blouse. Later it comes out that Sojourner was talking to Billy Top about getting into the Capitol base or whatever it is to try and free Lil, the girl from the hanging tree, who her lover was hanged. They're going to try to break her out because she's like a rebel, and they're wanting to, you know, escape and go up north where there's no capital or peacekeepers or anything like that. And that's what they were talking about. There ends up being a tussle between everyone. Billy Top ends up being killed. Mayfair ends up being killed, and it's Coriolanus' fault. He killed like both, like he's responsible. So he decides that he needs to flee with the rebels, otherwise he's going to be put to death. So he feels like he doesn't have a choice and he has to flee with them. Lucy wants to flee because she wants to get out. So they make a plan to leave. Jabberjays, they're the birds that repeat everything that people are hearing. So he is taking care of some of those. He knows how they work, how they record. When Sojourner was telling him about like this plan to run away, and he ends up recording it and sending it back to the capital, people find out about it, and basically Coriolanus ends up being responsible for like Sojourner's death and ends up basically killing him. So Coriolanus has killed Bobbin, Mayfair, and Sojourner. He's been responsible for 3 deaths. He does that right before him and Lucy decide to run. So they decide to run. They leave in the dead of night, and he finds one of the murder weapons, which he thought was just missing. He ends up finding it like in a shack that they stopped by at the lake, and he's like, oh my gosh, with this, that means I don't have to run anymore because I have the weapon, I can destroy it. So they have no way of knowing that I killed Mayfair, and so he decides he doesn't want to run with Lucy anymore. Lucy goes off to get some Katniss that's ripe so they can like use it to season it or eat it or something, and you can tell like how bored and tired I am of this story. She ends up disappearing and like trying to attack him, I guess. We don't know what happens really. It's possible Coriolanus ended up accidentally killing Lucy Gray in the woods. Maybe not, maybe did. He ends up going back to the Peacekeepers. No one knows where Lucy Gray is, and he just kind of lives out his life. He ends up going back to the capital because they were like, you've done a great deal for your country by riding out Sojourner, even though it was really hard. So to make this whole thing very short, he ends up going back to the capital and turns into President Snow, or gets back on the road to turn into President Snow. It was a lot. Like, this book is a lot, and do you see what I mean by it doesn't entirely make sense? Like, or it seems so pointless. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. But that's the gist of it. I'm gonna go, but that is that on the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you for watching this video if I did. Thank you for watching this video if I did. Thank you for watching this video if you did. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos if you'd like to. And there will probably be more of these types of videos in the future, hopefully about more exciting books, but thank you for watching anyway. I hope you have a good day and a good week, and I'll hopefully see you next week with another video, and thank you for watching this. Okay, have a good day.